I have no apologies. I was a crusader for the development of water. I was the Messiah. I was the evangelist that went out and argued persuasively to develop our rivers and water supplies for the benefit of the people.
In the American desert, we have built a great new civilization in less than a century, where none could possibly be in the natural order of things. We have made the land wet where it was dry, and dry where it was wet. We have lifted great rivers out of their ancient beds and moved them over half a continent. Our great cities stand in a desert that is drier than the plains of North Africa. It would all be impossible without the breathtaking manipulation of water. We fought over water, thrived on water, and finally, we engineered the desert out of existence.
Next to God, there's water.
Everybody is conscious of water. If you head for the river with an empty bucket, you're liable to get shot. So.
Can you imagine today, an American city, acquiring an entire river?
The idea of subduing nature has captivated the whole country. Congress cannot appropriate enough money fast enough to build more dams.
We built the dams for all the right reasons when they were desperately needed, with little thought to the consequences. The developing world watched and envied our success.
The engineering marvel that is Cooley Dam, inspected by Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia.
Supplying water to a population growing that fast is extremely difficult.
It was a little bit like the Sorcerer's Apprentice. You've got to have more water, more water, more water.
They're going to dam this canyon.
There was no end to these people who had plans to dam San Francisco Bay, pipelines beyond your wildest dreams. When this wasn't about carrying oil, this was about carrying water.
We have forgotten that the natural West is barren and fatally dry, and that our new bountiful West is a fragile construction. Here and there are reminders of what happens when the water is turned off, or when the waterworks fail.
Somehow, the water stopped flowing. You'd have a desert again overnight.
The dam's gone.
The whole thing has gone now?
The whole thing is gone. It rolled over about 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
If you can get us any help on radio or whatnot, get the people south of there out.
All right. Where do you want the people evacuated?
Well, we would like to get them off the river in low-lying spots.
Well, it's 6:22 at 710 Talk KMPC. I'm Dominic with Airwatch Traffic, and I got to tell you, the Jackknife Big Rig in Pasadena has the 210 eastbound in trouble right at Rosemead, where the right 3 lanes are out of commission, the jackknife big rig there, and about a quarter-mile slow. On the westbound side, almost across the fence from it, right at Sierra Madre. Right lane is blocked with a car fire, so get ready. It's slow from the 605. And how are things in Orange County? Hey, Scott Forrest, good morning.
18, el Ronald Reagan Freeway al oeste, acercándose a la calle Reseda Boulevard, Monte Vista, accidente de 3 autos.
할리우드 프리웨이로 바뀌는 101번 사우스 방향입니다. 할리우드에서부터 시작해서 다운타운에 다른
Street. It's a car that spun out and hit the center divider, and 2 left lanes are protected by CHP vehicles. Use alternate routes such as Laurel Canyon or even Mulholland today.
I think my grandfather, his vision was a city like Dublin, which was the city of his childhood. And it was a vision, I think, of a 19th century city, where people ambled on streets and knew one another and enjoyed the theater and the opera and the university. A civilized 19th century city.
No other Buick dealership in California has been best in its class for 7 years. That's because no other Buick dealership has sold more than 10,000 Buicks in the last 10 years. The list goes on and on. Right now, we do have lots of traffic to talk about, too. First of all, the KABC traffic alert continues.
The thing that you have to remember about Los Angeles is it never really had a reason to be there. It had no minerals, no metals, no forests. In other words, everything that any major American city used to develop itself, L.A. lacked. And above all, it lacked water.
Since the beginning of time, this was a place of earthquakes and perpetual drought. First claimed by the Spaniards, and then conquered by the Americans. Virtually everyone here had come from somewhere else. In 1878, William Mulholland arrived from the Green Hills of Ireland. He had stowed away on a sailing ship, worked as a lumberjack, failed as a gold miner, and had walked across Panama to save $25 in train fare. He was fond of one-armed chin-ups and grand opera. Mulholland found work as a ditch digger on the growing town's dilapidated water system.
L.A. was desperate to become a modern city. It had been a backwater for so many decades. But its water system, on the other hand, was pretty much the same old jerry-built thing. Bunch of old water wheels. A falling-apart system.
He worked hard, read Shakespeare and hydraulic engineering late into the night, taught himself to keep the entire L.A. water system in his head, and climbed through the ranks. In 1886, when his boss suddenly dropped dead, William Mulholland found himself superintendent of the L.A. water system. The little desert pueblo had grown to 100,000 people, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and a new railroad. And by 1903, L.A. had sucked dry the tiny Los Angeles River, its only source of water.
My mother would tell me these stories of growing up without water. 1 bath a week on Saturday night in a big zinc tub that was dragged into the kitchen and water heated. And Papa got the first bath, Mama got the second, and the kids, and Mother told me, and they were not what you'd call white trash, but she told me she never had a bath in pure, clean water. I was raised with a real sense that water was a precious item and not to be squandered.
Superintendent Mulholland tried to make Los Angeles live within its means, but growth sabotaged everything he did. By 1903, the chief knew that L.A. would have to stop growing, or he would have to find a new source of water. His friend, Mayor Fred Eaton, told him of a great valley 200 miles to the north.